What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be watching and reacting to Tom Ellis's workout brought to you by Men's Health Train Like a Celebrity.
You can say hello, but I don't need you to like.
Once again, this is JR Strength and Fitness, your friendly YouTube channel with all of your exercise science needs, your reaction video wants, and of course some exercise tutorials, because why the heck not? So again, this is going to be the fourth installment of the reaction video series of Train Like a Celebrity, and we're going to branch out to a couple different things, which I will announce later on in the video. But for the most part, we got Tom Ellis's workout. If you haven't seen the other reaction videos and you want to go check those out, link is right above. But we got Tom Ellis. So if you don't know Tom Ellis, I actually did not know who Tom Ellis was until Lucifer. If you haven't seen Lucifer, I believe it's in like 5th or 6th season, and it's on Netflix. It's phenomenal. You know how every now and then there's a actor or actress that just comes around and they are just born for a specific role. Tom Ellis is that for Lucifer, for Satan, the kind of club owner, devil, like phenomenal. I don't think you could find a better match than that. But we're going to check out what his kind of training style is. Obviously, in his role, Lucifer, it's not like he's trying to be super huge like Henry Cavill before. It's not like he had to get big for a specific role like Zac Efron in Baywatch. You know, he's playing the devil. So it's not like he has a huge aspiration to be some huge bodybuilder. So I'm curious what his overall training is just to facilitate his role as Lucifer, or if he even has a goal for his role. So for the most part, please like and subscribe, tell your old friends about me, and we'll get to the video. Alright, let's get it.
Hello, I'm Tom Ellis. I play Lucifer on the show Lucifer, and I'm going to show you today my training regime that I use to get into shape, especially for season 4 of Lucifer. Hashtag devil training. Let's give it a go. So before I do any lifting, I like to start by having a good 20-minute warm-up on the treadmill. So I'll do 5 minutes of an easy, nice paced jog, and then I'll do intermittently 45 seconds of sprint. So I'll crank it up to about 12 miles an hour for a sprint for 45 seconds, then take it back down to a walking pace for about 4 miles an hour. And I'll do that until I hit 20 minutes. And then I've got my blood pumping and I'm ready to go. When we were getting in shape for Lucifer season 4, I really wanted to gain some muscle mass. And so the best way to do that was consult my trainer, Paolo. Hello, everybody. And basically, Paolo suggested that we were going to train 6 days a week, but we would do 4 days of it as an upper-lower body split using big compound movements, get the big muscles going. So an upper body day will contain things like this: the bench press. So when we're doing a bench press, we're working to try and build that lean muscle mass. So I'll put a heavy weight on there. I'll do somewhere between 8 to 10 reps, and we'll do that 4 times.
All right, break down the first part first. So warm up, just 20 minutes on the treadmill, doing some sort of aerobic activity. Like, okay, sure, that can be part of it. I would like to see or hope to see some sort of activation, whether that's core, shoulders, glutes, whatever it is, some mobilization, because especially if you're working with heavy compound movements, if they're probably going upper body today, then you probably would have seen some sort of shoulder activation. But 20 minutes initially before the workout it's borderline. It's borderline as far as having detrimental effects on your workout. If you get fatigued and you're not really that much in shape, so 20 minutes could be a lot. You could be depleted as far as some glycogen goes, and glycogen is definitely needed as far as energy for those heavy compound movements. If you're one of those people, like I'm one of those people, then I tend to tailor my cardio at the end. If you're doing some sort of warm-up, I highly suggest somewhere around the 5-minute range is totally fine and optimal. And the bench press. So the bench press, yes, heavy compound movement, 4 sets of 8 to 10. Okay, maybe it looks like they're just trying to get in some volume, not necessarily like, going for 1 RMs or anything anytime soon. But for the most part, the one thing I did notice, and this is just like, as a trainer, I'm just watching this. So his trainer was spotting with the palms facing up, where both palms are facing up. Typically, you want to have that kind of overlap where you're kind of hugging. Now, he's probably not doing like super heavy, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and kind of just move away from that. But that's just something that I noticed as a trainer.
So this is an oldie but a goodie. It's the classic wide grip pull-up. Now I couldn't do any of these at the beginning of the year, but a lot of practice, keep your core engaged, get under it nicely, and go for it. Always remember to breathe out on the way up. And slow back down. As I say, I couldn't do any of these at the beginning of the year, so I've slowly built up to doing probably about 10 reps on my first go, and that'll slowly come down to 8, 6, and probably 6 again. I'll try and do 4 sets of those. Another great compound movement to get the shoulders fired up, I like to do this at the start of my upper body days, is the overhead seated shoulder press. I'd like to try and start heavy, so I've got 40 pounds on each arm. Paolo, he's so good. If you have got a trainer and using heavy weights, it's great to help you get into position without injuring yourself. So if we get them up with a swing, 3, 2, 1, there we go, in position. And a nice, get a good depth on them. And try and explode upwards. The slow contracting is just as important for the muscle building as doing it for the exercises quickly. Let's do one more.
Yeah. Up. Slow.
And then just to get them down safely, tuck them into your body.
All right, the next two, the pull-up. So yes, traditionally, this is perhaps one of the best ways to get that V-tape shape, because obviously we want the wide base for the lats. Pull-ups, I even have people do weighted pull-ups, especially the guys. If they're trying to get big, especially a big back, weighted pull-ups are the way to go. You get progressive. Believe me, once you get to a point where you're doing like sets of 5 to 8 reps with like 45 pounds extra on you, you are going to get a thick back. And that's obviously going to work throughout the entire upper body. So for the most part, pull-ups, phenomenal. Dumbbell seated shoulder press, like I do those too. I love those. So what was interesting is the range of it was definitely deeper than I would typically do or have other people do. It's not necessarily that it's wrong. It's more of a mechanical advantage thing. So mechanical advantage tends to decline once we get past this 90 degrees. So boom, broke that 90 degree. At mechanical advantage is like horrible now. Mechanical advantage is like this 90 degree. This is your barrier point. So I'm not saying you can't go below this. I'm just saying that it's hard mechanically to go below that, especially if you're dealing with some heavy weight, like progressively heavily loading the shoulder. Trainer spotting with the wrist, that's pretty much good. It's not like it's like the do or die kind of thing. I typically will do that there sometimes if people need it. Like I don't want to get too touchy with them. I want to teach them how to control it themselves and how to bail when things go wrong. That's typically what I try to do as a trainer. I try not to like full on spot people right at the given point. On the get up, when you get the dumbbells up, especially if they are heavy, perhaps one of the best ways to do it if you don't have someone to actually like freaking hand it to you, then you get them on the knees, get them on the thigh, and you are going to like hook them up using your legs. It's kind of hard to swing them up. You can, I wouldn't suggest it, but get them on the legs, hike them up, and that should be fine. If you're doing more, then grab a barbell.
So if you really want to carve out those shoulders, a great superset exercise to do with the overhead presses is the single arm cable lateral raise. So
4x12.
get your cable, you don't have to overload this weight. You're going for good, clean reps. So straight up, down to the side, down to the side. You superset this with the overhead presses, and you do 4 sets of each one with minimal rest in between, and your shoulders will be on fire.
Okay, first off, so if you're going to superset or compound set the overhead press with those lateral raises, there is something that you need to understand. There is a trade-off. My goal for those overhead presses is to progressively overload. Those are the movements that I get heavy and I get big with. The lateral raise, whether it's with dumbbells or kettlebells or cable or whatever it is accessory. That's going to be the local muscular endurance. That's going to be just adding extra volume to that specific area. For the most part, I would typically not do those combined unless my goal is not to overemphasize that, progressive overload for the overhead press. So if my goal is to get bigger, stronger shoulders, I want to focus that overhead press as far as getting bigger and stronger with heavier weight. And then I can add the cable lateral raise at the end as just accessory added on volume work. So that's how I would typically go about them. It looks like they're doing a lot of volume too. So fatigue is definitely going to sit in.
Okay, time to get the guns going. I'm going to use the classic single arm bicep curl, except we don't need heavy weights. People use heavy weights and they often cheat by swinging their bodies. I'm going for a flat surface on my back.
True.
Flat against here. That's it. And then you want to get your elbows pinned in like this, and you want nice, slow contractions. Then bring them both up like that. Keep them together, and just lower slowly, one at a time. Nice, long, controlled movements. Why am I talking so slowly? So in terms of reps and sets, we're doing 10 reps on each arm, which is, if you work it out, that's 20 reps. Back and forth. And you want slow, steady movements, and we do that 4 times. So, one of the best exercises you can do on leg day is the classic squat. It fires up all the big muscles. You get a nice, good heavy weight, good form, and come down and open up. Oh, this is heavy. Actually, it's not really. I haven't got any weights on today. But normally I'd stack it up with about 60 to 70 kilos. It's all about form and protecting your back. Oh, my bum feels nice. Right, well, that's just a few exercises from the devil training that I do with Paolo. Always have a good 10 to 15 minute stretch afterwards. I have to these days because I'm getting old and I need loads of this stuff. Keep hydrated, eat clean, and you'll see the difference. Laters.
All right, let's break down the entire workout. So, for the most part, started with the warm-up, about 20 minutes on some sort of machine like a treadmill or something, throwing in some intervals. Like I said initially, if you want to do that at the beginning and you're not so worried about detrimental effects of strength as far as those compound movements go, then go for it. If you are and you're focused on getting bigger and stronger, I would highly suggest moving that towards the end and keeping your warm-up about that 2 to 5 minute range. That's probably going to be the most optimal for you. Throw in some activation for the shoulder, the core, the glutes, whatever compound movements you are trying to get going. So they mentioned they are doing a upper body, lower body split 4 times a week. They said they're working out 6 times a week, so I'm not quite sure what else they're doing on those other 2 days, but they have 4 days a week of that upper lower body split. So this is the pretty fundamental kind of split. Just, it's a very common split. Now, the problem with the split is that if you miss a day or someone consistently miss a day, then you notice where the problem is. They're only getting 1 session of lower body a week or an upper body session once a week. That is the problem with that 4 times a week. If you can stay consistent with it, by all means, I have some people do that. Some people love it. Some people, not too much of a fan about it, but you typically want to see 2 to 3 days a week of a given muscle per week. So I want to be training my glutes 2 to 3 times a week. If I'm only hitting it 1 time a week, I'm not going to get the adequate amount of volume that I need in order to facilitate muscular growth and strength. So upper body, lower body, okay, I can vibe with that. So they started with the compound movements, which I love to see. The bench, the pull-ups, the overhead press, etc. So those are typically your fundamental movements. You can obviously do a bunch of different row variations, a bunch of different press oriented movements. So for the most part, you pick the ones that suit you the best, whether you're using a barbell or dumbbell or whatever. You focus on getting heavy heavy with those compound movements, the bench press. The heavier you can go with that, the more musculature you're going to utilize. So for the most part, compound movements are heavy. Then you have the accessory lifts, the lateral raises of the world, the bicep curls of the world. So they tailor those towards the end as just extra volume. And it looks like they're doing a lot of volume. 4 sets of 6 to 10 for most of them. So that's a good amount of volume. So for the most part, yeah, you are going to see some decent muscle growth and some strength, especially if you are focused on progressing them over time. So they added a little bit of lower body aspects like the squat. So I'm curious what his lower body aspect looks like, whether they're doing deadlifts, back squats, etc. So, but for the most part, upper body was pretty straightforward. And yeah, it should work out pretty well, especially if you're consistent with it. So for the most part, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of Lucifer too. So if you haven't yet, I'd highly suggest go watching that show. It's phenomenal. You'll understand why he was born for that role. So for the most part, like and subscribe, let your friends know about me, what we're doing here, what we're trying to become, and of course, till next time.
You can say hello.